Hello, my name is Brooke Hilliard, and the real-world problem I researched was desensitization to violence. Before I get into anything, I'd like to share a short video describing what exactly desensitization is and how our society today is desensitized to violence.
Hey everyone, so let's talk about desensitization in our society. To be desensitized means exactly what it sounds like. We become less sensitive to things which previously were viewed as shocking or distressing. As people, we become desensitized when something becomes a norm or becomes more normalized. Now, the most obvious example of this is the portrayal of violence in our media. 20 years ago, a film with violent or gory scenes would have been rated an 18. However, now it's extremely normal to see violence or even murder in films. Honestly, I cannot even imagine the criteria for a film to be rated an 18 these days, but I know that it would have to be very, very disturbing. But in terms of desensitization, we experience the same thing with real worldly issues. For example, the COVID death rates. So many people have died from COVID at this point that after a while, the numbers lose their meaning. People forget that the numbers are actually people who had lives and families. But the fact that we hear about it so often makes it more digestible.
As she stated in the video, this complex problem was created primarily by the frequent, normalized portrayal of violence in the media. This includes social media, movies and shows, video games, and the news. Millennials and Gen Z are especially impacted by this issue because of the many tragic events that have happened within our lifetimes. 9/11 was the first real cultural reset we had as a society. The devastating terrorist attack was a shock to our entire system. Our security and safety was immediately threatened, and people became wary of any potentially similar attacks. As the world started to heal from this catastrophe, schools started showing videos from the attack on 9/11 each year in an effort to memorialize those who died in the Twin Towers, as well as the heroes that sacrificed themselves to save others. However, one unforeseen side effect of showing these graphic videos was the desensitization to such images. The following video goes into other ways our generation has been exposed to violence in a different way from older generations, and how our reactions to such violence doesn't disturb us in the same way.
Okay, so I'd never try to make the argument that Generation Z is the toughest generation, but one thing that I do think we have over other generations is how desensitized to violence we are. Like, I was talking to my dad the other day because in the late 90s, he was part of a US-led NATO force that went into Bosnia to basically stop the Bosnians and the Serbians and the Croatians from killing each other. And I was kind of just like, why did you go there? Like, America didn't have anything to do with what was going on there. Like, why did America get involved? And he said, basically, enough people saw horrifying images and videos coming from the Baltics that they put pressure on President Clinton to do something, and so he sent some military people over there to stop them from killing each other. And I was just kind of like, that's it? People saw images of war on the news? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, in middle school, I watched ISIS beheading videos before I went to math class, and I was fine. He's like, yeah, I guess seeing horrifying images of war was new back then, because, like, people were not used to it. I'm like, every 9/11, we see videos of people throwing themselves off the building. Like, I don't get anything from horrifying images, but I guess people, earlier generations did.
I know all of us have likely seen disturbing videos on the news in the morning when our parents were watching it. I know my mom would watch the news every morning, and any time there was something tragic or unexpected, she would cry and say how awful and sad it was. I was just a kid at the time, but I didn't have any reaction at all. It's so strange how we know how we're supposed to feel, such as sad or disturbed at these images, but we just don't. The event that inspired me to research this topic was Astroworld. For those of you unaware of the tragic events at the Travis Scott concert, 10 people died and hundreds were injured after being trampled by the surging crowds. Neither Scott nor his staff made any attempt to stop the concert as these events transpired. Fans were begging him to stop the show, and some even got up on stage and pleaded with the cameraman. The video I'm about to show depicts those fans from the concert.
Let's do it.
Astroworld was a terrible example of just how desensitized our society is. However, Travis Scott is justly facing the consequences he deserves. Gen Z has the skills to solve this issue. It may be hard, but by expressing our compassion and emphasizing the importance of sharing such images will help to put us on the right path. We can discover ways of sensitizing ourselves through many lenses, such as psychological, economical, geographical, and social, including trigger warnings, banning violent video games, and being overall more sensitive to disturbing topics will help Gen Z to solve the problem of desensitization to violence.